Hi, it's Helen from Sportswear Chatter. I'm going to show you how to amend your avatar so you can design your sportswear on a relevant physique. I want to design an all-in-one suit for a middle distance runner. I have an average set of measurements to follow. Go up to the top bar and select the avatar drop-down menu and then pick Avatar Editor. First, it's best to amend height and inseam to get the leg measurements in proportion so you have the correct leg to torso ratio. I have also slightly amended the weight and circumference measurements. After that, let's start with creating the garment. Click in Pattern Outlines in the 2D window and drag a rectangle across the shadow of the avatar, wide enough that you can trace out the front and the back. Next, I'm going to hide the rectangle in the 3D window. In the vertical toggle menu, deselect Show Garment. We're going to take measurements at the waist to guide us on how big we need to make our pattern. Select the basic tape measure avatar in the 3D window and click on the centre front waist point. Holding down Command on a Mac or Control in Windows to create a curved line. Zoom in if you need an enlarged image for accuracy and click along waist position to side seam. Note that measurement down before selecting the Edit Tape Measure button. It has the little arrow in the corner, and delete it. Next, click on Library and find your pattern, which you can drag across onto your rectangle. I do currently work a lot using this tracing method, as I find it is a quicker way of drafting patterns. Another quick way is using past projects. Once you have a basic garment you like, you can modify it. This I've shown in my legging videos. In the 2D window, select Internal Polygon and draw a straight line. Right-click before you do your second left click and you can type in the actual measurement you noted down from when you measured your avatar. We are going to use this as a guide when resizing the pattern. So pick the Edit Graphic button in the 2D window, click on your rectangle with the graphic on, and then use the half gizmo in the top right hand corner of the 2D window. To adjust the positioning of the pattern, click and drag on your rectangle. I will line up the waist with the guideline. You can then delete the guideline. Next, select Internal Line tool again and click around your pattern pieces, front and back. Once you have the basic shape mapped out, you can amend each section along the guide. You can edit the points and curve the lines where you need. I'm also going to right-click on the shoulder edge and specify the length on the front and the back. I will then know they'll fit together and the curvature at the front and back neck works. To do this, right-click and select Change Length and type in your shoulder length. To edit the rest of the pattern, you can use shortcut Z for edit pattern, shortcut C for edit curvature, and also shortcut V to edit a curve point. I then want to create a side panel. I've created front and back pattern pieces before and then use the offset internal line and cut to create a side panel, but you often have to keep that side seam. as you can't really merge the two pattern pieces together when they're orientated on a different curve. So here I'm going to draw a rectangle. Select pattern outline and rectangle and drag across so the height is the same as the side seams. I'm going to add points where the waist and hips are, like on the other pattern pieces, using shortcut X to add a point. I have similar length sections as the front and back, and I want to make the widths of the underarm, waist, hip and hem to be as the template. Once I've added the points, I'm going to measure and then amend the rectangle to mirror those widths. Finally, I'll just check that all seams are the same length, so they'll sew together accurately. Once you're happy with your trace, zoom out a little so you have space around your rectangle. Shortcut A for transform pattern. Select your pattern pieces one at a time and right click and choose clone as pattern. Then we can move the rectangle out of the way and position our pattern pieces over the shadow of our avatar in our 2D window. Let's clean them up a bit. So let's go to Object Browser, press on the plus sign to add another fabric, and then drag that fabric onto your pattern pieces. Select each pattern piece again individually and right click, choose symmetrical pattern. Once we have positioned them in the 2D window, we can also arrange them in the 3D window. Go into the 3D window and select Show Arrangement Points in the vertical toggle menu. And also while we're there, we can deselect the avatar measurements as we no longer need them. Select your front pattern piece and hover over the avatar before clicking on the desired point. Don't worry if they are not exact. You can always move them afterwards using the gizmo. Right click to rotate your avatar around to place the back pieces and the side pieces. These are not so easy to select on the side, so I'm using my gizmo. If your gizmo looks different and you struggle with it, right click in the 3D window and make sure your gizmo is on local coordinates. Once all the pattern pieces are arranged in the 3D window, we can sew them. Segment sewing is for the part of the pattern that is just a singular piece. This is the second sewing button down. We can do the shoulders with this. Next, the side seams, we'll use the next button down, which is free sewing. Click at the top of your pattern, follow the edge all the way down and click at the bottom. Repeat on the other side. As we have symmetrical pattern pieces, the stitching will be activated on both pattern pieces. I love virtual sewing, it always looks so neat. We'll leave the upper part of the centre front as we're going to add a zip, but we can free sew the lower part. And finally sew all the centre back seam. To add the zip, go into the 3D window and select the zipper tool. And much like sewing, click on the start, follow the seam edge, but double click at the bottom before mirroring on the other side. On my zip waistband pocket legging video, there is more about the zipper tool. So looking at this garment, it looks a little big. So I've played around with the edges a bit. I've used right click offset as an internal line in the 2D window, and I've cut and re-sewn to shave off about 2 centimetres on each side, the front and the back. I still think the leg length is too long. So we're going to pick our length in the 3D window. Press on the 3D pen garment tool and then on your garment, holding down Command or Control if you want a curved line. Once you've completed the line, check you're happy with it. You can always select the Edit 3D pen garment tool if you want to move any points. And then right click and choose Duplicate to Symmetrical Pattern. Another right click and select Cut. In the 2D window, shortcut A for Transform Pattern and select the bottom edges and backspace to delete. I also want to create a yoke at the back. First I'm going to add another fabric. To change the colour of this new fabric, select the fabric and scroll down to Colour Swatch. Then pick your colour. Then we can drag that fabric swatch into the pattern pieces. Now the side panels are a different colour. It will help you see where the different pattern pieces are in the 3D window. And pick the 3D pen garment tool again and draw on the garment. Command and Control held down will give you the curved line. Double click at the end. Select the Edit 3D pen garment tool. Then right click and Duplicate to Symmetrical Pattern. And then right click, but we'll select Cut and Sew this time. I'm going to add another fabric and choose another colour for the back shorts. Drag it across the relevant pattern pieces. Now you can stop here, or I'm going to choose some graphics and colours to finish this off. It could look good with a laser cut panel to the back. I might show that on another video. But this one I'm going to add a mesh jacquard. So add another fabric, drag into the top back pieces, and then I'm going to select the fabric, go to the open file symbol and choose my fabric. This fabric is an olive colour, so I'm going to scroll down and desaturate it so it's white. Now I'm going to pick a print for the front panels. Select the library symbol, and I've saved some prints from Pinterest. Drag into the front panels and select Edit Texture, the fabric swatch folded over in the 2D window. Click on your pattern piece and resize using the half gizmo in the top right hand corner. The side panels and lower back will be solid colour, so I'm going to select those fabrics in turn, scroll down to the colour. You can pick from the small palette on the left, or you can go through the colours on the right. I'm going to note down the red, which I'm using for the side panels, as I also want to make the zip the same colour. I don't actually like this print effect at the centre front crotch, so I'm going to change it. This is one of the great Clo 3D advantages. You can play around with prints and their sizing before you get to a strike off or a garment. A win for being more sustainable. And now zip time. Zoom in, select Edit Zip Tool, highlight the zip, and then scroll down and select Closed End. You can pick your zip pull and your ends. There are quite a few Clo 3D presets, and there's more actually on Clo Connect. Next, I highlight the zip in the object browser and choose the colour, both for the teeth and the tape. I copy the red reference so the zip matches the side panels. I'm also going to reduce the number for the particle distance to 5, so it sits well in the garment. Finally, another small change. The jacquard mesh just looks a bit dirty, so I'm going to change that. So I'm going to select the fabric, go to the open file symbol, so at last I think I'm happy with this. Any middle distance runners out there need a new outfit? Like and subscribe, it makes me happy.